Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Rich. Of course, yesterday's conversation was interesting, all about gold and whatnot. But today, it's a continuation of that, as I promised. In the end of the video, we'll talk about bitcoins, we'll talk about crypto, and how all this has got to do with what Americans are trying to do. And why should this be something of interest to you, especially if you're someone who's looking at gold. But before I get into that, let me quickly run through some of the comments you guys had. As I promised, I would get into those. So some of it was revolving around not being interested in gold, having skeptical views. Fair point. Gold is not for everyone. My aim is here not to make you buy gold or sell gold. I just want to try and explain what's happening in the bigger shifts in the financial system globally, and what you do with this information is purely up to you. I hope it helps. I hope it gets you thinking about investing and about wealth creation. Other than that, I have no axe to grind here about gold, saying that you must buy it or sell it or do anything or any form of gold. Concern is about there's artificial gold and fake gold. This has been there since the dawn of time. We have had fool's gold and many types of fake gold, right? So it's up to you to be careful and to make sure that you buy it from the right sources and reliable sources, and you verify and not just trust when you buy gold. That is one of the main reasons why the Tatas themselves are able to charge a premium of 100 rupees, 150 rupees compared to the rest of the market because of their brand value. People trust the Tatas, and because of that trust, they're able to charge an extra premium. So if someone like Sadhu is selling it for 100 rupees, Tatas can sell it for 110 rupees. That's for the simple reason they put a Tata on it. That I leave to you. Third thing is, most of you are asking about the fractional reserve banking and money creation. Yes, banks just don't simply lend on deposits. They try and create a credit system, and that's why the whole monetary system, global monetary system right now feels stretched because of all the credit they've created. And as I say, it comes calling. And I should do a separate session on this and explain why trust in fiat is weakening and why we are paying attention to gold. I must do a follow-up video on that to explain how this whole banking system works and how gold is involved in this, and why, because of our own greed or whatever would you like to call, uncontrolled expansion maybe. I shouldn't say greed because that sounds, what do you call, like I'm judging. That's what I want to say. I was judging you guys. I'm not. Historical political arguments some of you had. Some of you gave me a long rant. I think it's Samson Ryan who said about currency wars, outsourcing liberal policies and liberal TV. I don't have any views. I'm apolitical. I'm not liberal. I'm not a conservative. I'm a nobody. So I'm just someone trying to understand what is happening and figure out how to make wealth. What I was focusing on the last video was the economic mechanisms, how Brentwood went. I'm not saying Brentwood was right or wrong, or what Nixon did right or wrong. I'm just saying this is what happened, and this is what has led to today's fragility, and what is happening today, which is going to cause tomorrow's strength and fragilities. So I'm trying to understand that roadmap. So when we invest and we buy gold, we can understand this. There's a lot of comments which came about Ponzi fears and Bitcoin versus gold, and that is something which I'm going to expand on further. They're asking me, is Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme like the tulip mania? Well, it's absolutely true. Gold is not a Ponzi scheme. Gold has a 5,000-year history, while Bitcoin is hardly 15 years old. And I would say Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme. It's more like a speculative store of value with potentiality in it. It needs to mature, and all of that maturity of Bitcoin depends on adoption and regulation, both of which are not currently there. It's sadly lacking, so that is the reason why Bitcoin is more of a speculation. In terms of wealth creation, long term and US listed companies, one of you had asked me, should you be investing in US listed companies? Yes, these things are cyclical. Gold and price of gold movement and these policies and geopolitical tensions and all this happens, like I said, it's been going on since the dawn of time, since human beings have been walking on this planet. One of the best ways to create long-term wealth is investing in companies, and the good companies with good management, with good business. So, I would always support that. But the caveat being that you find the right companies at the right price, and it's in your wheelhouse of competence. And a lot of people have come out saying, is this really value? People keep buying, prices keep going up. So there's no real value in this. Yes, price doesn't equal value. Gold has no real cash flow. Okay, it is not an investment class, I've been saying, in terms of value. It is more of a hedge, and The real value in this in creating, buying good businesses. And this gold prices going up, it's because of the stress on the monetary system as a whole. And that is what is leading to a lot of this upward thrust in gold prices. Why doesn't US reevaluate their gold? Why have they kept it $42 an ounce? Sort of you were surprised by this. It's been unchanged in 1971. That's because that would instantly strengthen their balance sheet, like I said. At the same time, it will also signal weakness in the dollar. Because suddenly, if I need to show that my house is worth so much money, or Sadhu is my best friend and he's a strong man, then that means it's showing weakness on me, that I am not strong enough to protect myself, that I need Sadhu as my right hand to protect me self from all of you. So that is why US has not moved ahead and said, we have so much of gold. And that is the reason why it's sitting at $42 an ounce. A lot of you asked, is silver an alternative? Yes, silver is known as a poor man's gold. I personally don't look at silver because silver prices are very volatile, but silver prices do track gold historically, so they do move in tandem. And there is also theories behind that you can do something known as the cycle rotation between gold and silver. As silver prices start going up, you move to silver. When it overtakes gold, you sell it and move back to gold, and then you do vice versa, and you can keep creating wealth by riding both of them. I don't believe in this, because I don't believe they're a real asset class. But there are many ways to make money. Investing in stock market is not the only way. So I'm sure you can think about it if this is something up for your interest. A lot of you have been asking impact on jewelry stocks. Yes, rising gold prices will have an impact on jewelry stocks, but not the way you think. It is not that the jewelry stock prices will immediately shoot up saying you're buying gold. Actually, their prices will go down because simple reason they'll find it hard to sell the gold which they have. Remember, jewelry companies make money by selling jewelry. They don't make money by hoarding gold. They want to buy the gold, make something with it, put a little margin on it and sell it on and make a profit. And their profit increases marginally because gold prices keep moving upward, so their profits are a little more padded. But if gold prices start moving violently up, then what will happen is consumers will withdraw from buying gold because they can't afford it, or they feel scared to buy it right now. They'll want a correction to come through. So this will actually dampen sales. So keep this in mind when you're talking about jewelry stocks. And a lot of you have asked about de-dollarization, which is what I want to talk about today. And most of you have thanked me for the video. So I'm happy that you're enjoying the video. And do keep those comments coming. And without wasting any further time, because Sadhu keeps looking at the clock, let me jump into today's video, which is all about Bitcoin. So what is Bitcoin? Well, it's the digital challenge to gold, right? There is no doubt Bitcoin has been working hard to fill the place of the neutral currency, and it's a digital currency. So what is a neutral currency? Neutral currency is a currency that is not tied to any political, economic interest of any single country. So no single country controls it, no single political party has influence over it, no economic interest, be it liberal or conservative, can sway it. It is designed to be used across borders seamlessly, and it has no baggage of political national policies, trade rivalries. Just because you get into a trade war, you cannot squeeze that currency, and central banks have no influence over it. So that is what a neutral currency is, and Bitcoin is a digital format of it. Of course, before all this, the universal neutral currency has been gold, and it has a 5,000-year history, like I said. And that is why central banks are rushing to buy a lot of gold, because they're dumping the dollar, because the Americans have been flexing their muscle using the dollar, and the rest of the world are feeling rather scared that they may be next. If they could do it to someone, they could be doing it to me soon, so why take the risk? And this is the reason why gold and Bitcoins have been surging. And you may be wondering, why would the Americans like Bitcoin? Because if you noticed, the last election cycle, Trump was very vociferously and publicly supporting cryptocurrencies, and he went on to stage saying he's going to remove all the regulations on cryptocurrencies. He's been doing pretty much what he said. And if it's going to hurt their reserve currency status, why would the Americans do this? Why would they support the Bitcoin? And logic dictates that doesn't make sense. Why would they want to lose your reserve currency, right? But like I said in the last video, Trump's administration wants to bring manufacturing back to American shores. And one of the strategies they need to do is they need to make the dollar cheaper, so the American exports are more competitive globally. And one of the levers they have for this is making the dollar weaker and by doing this in a controlled manner, and Bitcoin is a big part of this whole strategy. One is, of course, meddling with the Fed, and causing all that meddling in the Fed is creating ripples. And if you notice, the dollar index for the entire year, it's not hardly touched anywhere close to 100, where it usually goes to historically, if you see, and it's been weakening. And today, last when I checked, it was at even 96, which is shockingly low for the dollar index to be at. But it kind of aligns with what he's trying to do. And this whole Bitcoin is also because of this. And you must remember something. The Americans hold a lot of Bitcoins at a national level, at a corporate level, at an individual level. The Americans have a ton of Bitcoin. So they themselves don't want to see Bitcoin turning into zero because they have a lot of it. And the American government itself has, I think, 198,000 coins. And there's a corporate company called Strategy, which is listed in the New York Stock Exchange under MSTR, which has around 630,000 Bitcoins. And at least 15 to 20% of most Americans on an individual level have some Bitcoins. So, and eventually the Bitcoin supply is going to be 21 million, out of which 15% is already lost in Bitcoins. And 1.3 million has been locked by the guy who created it, Satoshi Nakamoto. I don't even know if this guy is around anymore. Some people say he never existed. So that 1.3 million, which is quite a big chunk actually, is also gone. So that is where Bitcoin is sitting, right? I'm not talking about all other cryptocurrencies. Let's not get lost in the world of crypto. I'm just talking about Bitcoin here, right? And now, with all this, what I've said in context, what Americans own and the corporates own, let's talk about the Genius Act. What happened in the Genius Act? Well, in the Genius Act, the American government told the Fed, boss, central banks have no role in digital currencies. The Fed right now, the Reserve Bank cannot issue or allowed to issue any form of digital currency going forward. So this was right at the time when the EU central bank, Christine Lagarde, was thinking of actually bringing them in. So right at this time is when this whole thing came. And why has this come? It's a question. The main crux of the act is it supports something called stablecoin. What is stablecoin? Stablecoin is a digital currency created for the private realm, for private use. It is like a digital currency backed by gold, pretty much like gold bees, you would think, right? Gold bees is a digital form of gold, right? That means there's actual physical gold held somewhere, and against that they're issuing gold bee ETFs. Stablecoin is something like that, right? You got stablecoin, and it's approximately a coin to a dollar. The fluctuation is not there. In gold ETF, the prices fluctuate as gold fluctuates, demand of gold fluctuates. So that effect is there on ETF. But here in stablecoin, as the name suggests, it's stable. It's around a dollar to a coin. So it is fiat based. It is not a purely neutral currency like Bitcoin or what you call gold is. So what does this mean? This means this is fiat based and it's created in the private sector, and the more Bitcoin grows, more stablecoin market will also grow. It's just logical the way it's tied together, and crypto market is. So the more growth crypto market Bitcoin has, more will stablecoin grow. So why would this be helpful for the American government is the question. It's tied to the dollar. It is going to grow, and what is the reason behind this? I have Dave also with Sadhu today, and Dave has said, Vinod, they're talking way too fast. He said, slow it down. So I will try and slow down the velocity of my voice and my speech, sorry, not my voice, I would say my speech. So why would this help the American government, right? Stable coin backed by the dollar. Well, if you see today, $250 billion is invested in US T-bills because of stable coin. That means half the entire US stable coin, right, is sitting on at 250 billion US T-bills. That's around 2% of the entire treasury bill market. Tether, it's another company, is the world's 7th largest holder of stable coin. So therefore, stable coin, as it grows, the demand for US treasury will grow, aka, in other words, the Americans can borrow more debt because of stable coin, because stable coin will require more T-bills. So the demand of T-bills goes up, That means Americans can issue more T-bills and create more dollar. So the JP Morgan has said by 2035, the stablecoin market will be $500 billion. That's conservative. Standard Chartered has put it at $2 trillion. And Bernstein has said it's going to be $4 trillion, the size of the stablecoin market. So you can imagine the amount of T-bills that will be needed for stable coins because it has to be backed by a dollar. So this means Americans are looking to refinance their debt and debt financing through stablecoin. This is the reason why for this Genius Act, this is why Trump has been pushing Bitcoin and all this, because gold may be neutral, but Bitcoin, will serve them better because Bitcoin will be much safer for the American dollar. Why am I saying this better than gold? Because we really don't know how much gold Americans have. In Fort Knox right now, we do not know how much gold there is because they have not audited it yet. Why they have not audited the gold in Fort Knox is a big question. Trump recently threatened that he's going to go himself and see what is there in Fort Knox. He said it, but he hasn't done it. So why? It begs the question. So this may be one of the ways to mitigate whatever is there in terms of the problem with gold and dollar. So the question next comes is, so will Bitcoin finally replace gold? Is there going to be a showdown? Yes, there will finally be a showdown. But right now, it's not going to happen anytime soon. So having that said, what does gold have for it? It has tradition. Humans have an allure towards gold. Like I have gold ring on my finger. Sadhu, I'm sure, has some gold somewhere at home. He says it's locked up. Dev, who's a young boy, aspires for gold. Oh, he's actually wearing some gold around his neck. No, he's just silver. Okay. But he aspires one day that silver will turn to gold for him. So that allure is always there. So this is the role gold and Bitcoin have in de-dollarization. So the world may not move into a new reserve currency. The world may not have a reserve currency the way we used to, maybe. I don't know. So what do you do with all this information? Well, I would put my money in gold right now. Some people may say you should hedge on both and have a bit of both. I would say I would rather hold on to gold as far as this is concerned. So tomorrow I will talk about what is happening in Europe thanks to all this and explain why Europe is in so much pain, what's happening in France and UK, and hopefully that will explain that. So thanks for watching Bearish today. I hope you had a wonderful day and a wonderful evening. From me and Sadhu and Dev here in the studio, we wish you a wonderful evening. Thanks for being with me on Bearish. Bye.